In this week's upload, we're going to do another racing video. People seem to enjoy the last one, so hopefully this will be the same. In this one, what we're going to do is we're going to give you some tips and tricks, and we're going to share some of my own secrets for the selection process, and hopefully that can help you become a better gambler and then start beating the bookmaker. I'm Tony from BetAnalyst. Let's crack on with this. The first thing I want to pick up on is niche. If you're relatively inexperienced to gambling and you're trying to get into something, right, start with a small selection. So you might want to concentrate on the handicaps, you might want to concentrate on sprinters, you might want to concentrate on the timing of the races and things like this. Yeah, it really depends. You've got to pick your own out, but niche will help you narrow the process down. Within racing itself, one of the important aspects, especially in UK and European racing, is actually the type of track. Now, we go clockwise, we go anti-clockwise, left-handed or right-handed. We have tracks that have got stiff uphill finishes, some are galloping tracks with big wide bends, where it goes like 2 miles around. Others are small nippy tracks. They're also different types of horses. So you've got to try to learn what the tracks are all about, right? And then you've got to put that to the racehorse and see if you think it's going to suit it or if it's going to work against it. So tracks, don't underestimate the importance. Obviously, ground and surface is a big player. Now, especially when the ground goes from one extreme to the other. Say if it goes from fast ground to heavy ground, but the same horses are going to run. Right? It's something to watch out for, because the ground, it affects horses in different ways. If it goes heavy, you're going to need something with a lot more stamina. You're going to need something that's proven to go through that ground. It's going to eliminate those fast ground horses that are going to probably be withdrawn in any case, but if they do run, it's going to be easy to take them on. So ground has been really important. You've got the profiles in the Racing Post of each horse. Check them out, see if that the horse has won on that type of ground, see what it's best on, and try to figure out what suits that individual and the field best. Now, obviously, the distance of a race is important. If you're a sprinter, you're not going to be running a mile. But then again, on an easy track, on fast ground, a horse is going to get further. And the opposite is also true. On a stiff track, uphill finish, heavy ground, the horse is probably going to run out of petrol at the end of the race. So bear this in mind, because it is, you've got to take into mind all the factors what we've already spoken about, but at the same time, think what is the optimum distance for each individual horse and how it's going to affect that race. That brings me on to field size. Have you ever heard the saying, the bigger the field, the bigger the certainty? Yeah. And a small field, bet the outsider of 3. It's 2 variations. They're not necessarily true, but a big field's going to probably be run at a generous pace. It's going to be run more honest. Whereas a small field, it could become a lot more tactical. Bear it in mind, go through the horse's profile, have a look on, where they perform best in small fields, in big fields. If it's some horses will just, they're easy to fit in. Others are not. They just need a lot of horses around them. Others need little. And then the next part is ex-French horses. This is one of my own little secrets, right? Something I picked up on a long while back. So they come over to the UK and they join big trainers. Everybody thinks that they're a good thing because they won 2 or 3 races in France, but it doesn't mean anything, right? They come to the UK with a bad handicap mark. It's a different type of racing in the UK. And another thing I want to mention is you'll see horses that are running what they call national flash races, AQPS in France, and normally they're very low quality. So You know, something like that will join the Paul Nicholls. They'd have won 3 races, join the top trainer, and it would be automatically favourite for his novice hurdle on his debut. I normally take this type of horse on. But you can use genie.com, that's a French online portal, and you can actually see the ratings of each horse. And once you learn the rating system, then it will help you understand, you know, the horse's chance when it actually switches over to the United Kingdom. Obviously, something that you should all know about is the draw. It's affecting a race, but you need to think a little bit deeper. Look at earlier races, how they ran. Look at if the ground's changing, because the ground will affect the draw. And also look where the pace is in the race. So if it's a sprint, right, and normally, you know, the best draw is on the far side, but all the fast horses are on the near side. Maybe, you know, if you're an older horse on the near side, you're going to get an advantage because you're going to get a fast pace to take you along. So, you know, just try to think of the factors involved. Then I want to pick up on X-flat horses that go chasing. Now, this is important because a lot of people, the X-flat horses go hurdling, they pick up a lofty handicap mark, and, you know, the trainers can't do much more with them. And so now they force their hands into trying the bigger obstacles, but they can't jump as natural as something that was actually bred for that game. So a lot of the times, you know, they're not going to achieve the same heights as they did over the hurdles. So just be a little bit wary of this, especially on the sort of, I'm talking about when they're in their first run, their second run, or they're relatively inexperienced. You will see it yourself. It's there are exceptions to the rule, but you know, watch them first, punt against them if they're short odds, try to find something to beat them, etc. And that brings me on to dual purpose horses. You know, when you are you know, a flat and a hurdler, so this horse entered start of the season, it finished last season on the flat at 70, and then it goes back over hurdles and it progresses from like 115 to 130. That means normally this horse has improved in that time. So when it goes back to the flat with its old handicap mark, it's got a big advantage. Now, it doesn't work in every case because maybe it's just become more natural at jumping, but it should give you some kind of, you know, a feeling of what to expect. With regards to Irish trained horses, you see they go over to Cheltenham every year, they absolutely clean up, and they clean up in handicaps. But one thing, they don't clean up in small races. You will see them going over a lot of the time to the north of England. You know, they jump on the ferry, go over with a handicapper, and people will think, punters, yeah, it's come over from Ireland. They don't realise, Ireland is closer to those tracks than the south of England is to those tracks. So it's a quick ride for them. It's an option for the trainers. It doesn't mean they're a good thing. So just be aware of Irish form. At the top end is very strong, and at the bottom end is probably, if anything, exaggerated. So, changing codes. When I say changing code, I mean a horse that was racing in hurdles going chasing. Now, if a runner changes quickly, you know, it just races 2 or 3 times and then goes straight over the bigger obstacles, what the trainer's telling you there, this horse is a natural jumper. If it ran 30 times over hurdles and now it's going to go chasing for the first time, you might want to be skeptical. So, you know, pay attention. Some horses are made for chasing and they're just gathering a little bit of experience when they're actually hurdling, and when they change code, then you will see a massive improvement. And also, you've also got to take into consideration, at that stage, they're carrying the old hurdle handicap rating with them. So they're literally well handicapped. Now, with regard to weight effects, you need to think about this. In a big field, races are run honestly, and, you know, the actual weight of a horse is in comparison with its ability. But when it comes to a small race, the race becomes tactical. And when it becomes tactical, then you get different results. Those with lower weights often have a bigger advantage in small fields. You've also got to look obviously at the size of the horse, if it can carry weight. You can do that again through the Racing Post profile. You can look down, see what he performed best with in the past. Was it a horse that was happy giving weight to inferior rivals, or was it better receiving weight from superior rivals? So it's something to take into consideration, but weight's important. And that obviously moves us nicely onto handicap marks. If a horse is exposed, the chances are it will have a limit, right? So it could have dropped and then won a couple of races, and punters still think, it's going to win, it's going to continue in the same at the same level, keep winning. But they've all got maximum what they can achieve, and you've got to be a little bit wary when they start reaching a new level. That's okay with the young horse, but like I say, if they're exposed, they've raced 20, 30, 40 times, then they've pretty much got a ceiling. I want to also discuss a trainer form. People look in the Racing Post, they'll see that a trainer had, like a Paul Nicholls had 10 winners from his last 40 runners, and you will think, oh, that's great, he's in form. Now, while that's 25% strike rate, which is excellent for a lot of trainers, a 25% strike rate, if all your horses are favourite, is probably not that good. Imagine you had 10 winners and they're all even money, then you're only getting 20 back, and you've had 40 runners, you've lost 20 points, right? So that's one thing. But also when you're looking at lower grade trainers, what you can look for is that if they're running horses and they finish in place or even fourth or fifth at big odds of like 66 to 1, 100 to 1, then they probably exceeded expectation. So you've got to try to work out the expectation of each trainer, of each individual, and it will help you understand what should be happening. When it comes down to tipsters, or specifically Racing Post tipsters, now you've got to imagine, also the TV pundits actually, they are not professional gamblers. They might pretend to be, but they're on television for another reason. They're on television because they're good at talking, they're good before the camera, they can analyse a horse's chance, but probably what they can't do is put the odds against it. What odds you should take, right? So just bear this in mind. Racing Post tipsters, some of them might be on the journey to becoming professional gamblers, but generally speaking, they're just doing their job just like anybody else, right? So treat what they say with a little bit of caution. When it comes down to gambling stables, you've got to think they are there for themselves. They are not there for you. We might have all heard of the Barney Curly, the legends. We enjoy them. We think they're funny, but we wouldn't really want to be involved, because if we were getting in on a Barney Curly horse, he would have the 12 to 1. We would have had the 2 to 1. Right, so there's just no point. Gambling stables are not doing a favour to the punter, to the professional gamblers, unless of course you are in on the bet, on the secret, so to say. Time between races. Now, if a horse wins relatively easy a handicap, it can come out pretty quickly and race again with what they call a fixed penalty. So it gets like a £5, £6, £7 fixed penalty, and it's not carrying its new assessed weight. Now this can be beneficial, but the question is it suitable for the horse to race again so quickly? It's one of those things. Some horses go best fresh, some can take a lot of racing. That profile there in the Racing Post shows you how they've handled things in the past. Have they always performed in their next race like the last one? Are they consistent? If a horse won in the past, right, like maybe 6 months ago, and then it's won again, right, after another 10 races, how did it perform in its race after that last win, because it gives you more an idea what to expect. Now, I would really advise you to learn how to read races, and because you're going to go through all the form and it's going to show you what to expect within the race, but you've got to learn to read the race, and you've got to learn to see which horses are courageous and going to fight at the end, or the ones that are what we call bridle horses, where they travel strongly but they don't find much. If you do that, it will give you a better feeling of what's going on, where the ground's faster, what the situation is, which jockeys suit certain types, body language. It really is something. You can do all of this through watching replays of at the races, racing TV. Just pick up the videos, start watching your horses, and you'll get a better feeling for it. Learn by doing, so to say. The luck element. Now, you'll win some lucky, you'll lose some unlucky. What can you say? It's just part of life. There's no point in crying over spilt milk. You've seen these people in the betting shops. Actually, there's one guy online on YouTube I found extremely funny. Every horse that he's ever bet that was beaten, basically, it was the jockey's guilty. Now, I know this from also living in Germany for a long time, that they blame the jockey for everything. If the horse is not good enough, the jockey gets the blame. But you've got to be realistic. You'll have days where you've been fortunate to win, and you'll have days where you've been unfortunate. I'm afraid you just have to, it's like a boxer, you just got to carry on with the fight. You take the punch, move on. The last thing I want to really pick up on is that out of everything, of all what I've just said, the most important thing is that you learn to bet the odds and not the horse. It's like the spin of a coin. You're not going to just bet heads for the sake of it. You're going to bet heads if it's 2.10 because it's over the odds. And you're not going to bet it if it's 1.90 but tails is 2.10. So, you've got to try to figure out what the real odds, the true odds should be. If you can do that, obviously, it's going to take a little bit of practice. You can start with smaller races, something that you're specialising in, put odds next to a horse's name, and just to see how they figure in the market. You've also got to consider, whenever you're betting, right, you're betting actually, the time that you place a bet, you're playing like the futures market, because if you're betting at 11 o'clock in the morning and the race is taking place at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, conditions might have changed. There might be a few withdrawals. The weather might have turned, earlier results, the draw. There could be a number of things in any case, right? So, always take into consideration changing the circumstances, but, any type of professional betting, not just horse racing, it's all about the odds. So we do hope that you benefited from something like this video. If you do like it, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll do some more. You can get over to our website, bettinganalyst.com. If you want the one-to-one coaching, you can apply for it. We can see what we can do for you there. But for now, we're going to say through to another round of boot camp. We'll see you in the next one soon. Take care. Bye-bye.